sharp, I'm telling you. Joining us now, we have the co-founder and CEO of Jumpstart Test Prep with us. Always love talking to him. Shay Walker joins us. How you doing today, Shay?
Doing great, Dave. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you loud and clear. Now, I've talked to you many times before about Jumpstart Test Prep. And the importance of, getting our kids where they need to be educationally. You moderated a panel yesterday for MEC at their event because, and I mentioned this just a little while ago, we have data coming out that unemployment is at record lows, but we have businesses that are still screaming for employees, and it's hard to make those two facts kind of fit together. But to me, it all comes down to we have got to get more kids headed in the direction they need to go in for the workforce, not just the kids, but everybody. Am I right?
Oh, you're exactly right. There's two tracks, really. We're going to have 55,000 graduates in public schools in May. In Mississippi public schools, I would say, there is a percentage that are college bound, and ACT is critical for that track as an entrance requirement for community college or four-year university. There is an entrance requirement. There's also scholarship levels for the ACT. You can save a lot of money if you do better on the ACT exam. Parents know this, and we've built prep for that. We offer the most improvement for the least amount of review time. By offering the tips, strategies, and techniques developed by Doc McClendon, a 19-year Star Teacher Hall of Fame inductee, one of the most decorated educators in our state. And she built a prep to enable students to see rapid improvement by reviewing things they haven't seen in a long time before they go and test. So that's what we sell. We deliver it online. Students follow a workbook. And when they apply just a little bit of time and energy into this, it turns out your mom was right. If you study for a test, you'll do better on it. And that's what
there's a lot of kids that don't like to hear that, Shay. You're not making some kids happy. Mom was right.
Yeah, she was right. But nobody likes to study. It's a drag. And so that's why we've tried to develop the most improvement with the least amount of review time, the least pain factor. So we've also developed for kids that are in another track, they're not necessarily college bound, that are going into the workforce. There's an assessment that they need to take called the ACT Work Keys assessment, and a lot of parents probably never heard of it, but their senior is going to take this exam next year. It's a job skill assessment. It assesses them in three main areas: applied math, graphic literacy, and workplace documents. So workplace documents, for example, on the job, you're going to get memos and correspondence from managers that you need to be able to decipher and determine what it is your employer wants you to do in certain circumstances. So this assessment is trying to figure out what aptitude you have and ability you have to do that. So how does a senior perform well on this type of assessment when they've never seen a workplace document? And so what we've built for ACT Work Keys is a timed practice for all three areas to enable a student to review and practice the skills that are being assessed by this important test, and they perform much better. So it's a brief prep, but it is putting them in the real experience of the test before they take it, and we're seeing scores go through the roof. So for employers. For employers, that's a critical thing. They almost want to see more than a resume. They want to see what your skill set is when you walk in the door, what you're capable of doing. So this assessment does two things. It provides the employer with your current ability level in these three areas. But for the student, it tells them, based on your aptitude in these three areas, what job careers you're well suited for. And so as a senior, you might not even be thinking about becoming a bookkeeper. But because your Work Key skill assessments scores has listed that as a career possibility based on your aptitude, it opens the door to career thinking that you just never even thought about before. So it's a great way to begin developing the career track of those who are not college bound.
Well, and you touch on something there, and I want to talk about it for a second. A lot of times, I think we overlook the fact, it's been talked about more recently, but we overlook the fact that, well, let's just say at 16 or 17, that's a bit early to make someone make the decision of what they're going to do for the rest of their life. You know, and here are your options. Pick from these three, son. And that isn't really the way the world works sometimes, and you have to be made aware of what your options are, which brings us back to the job market. There are a lot of jobs out there, good paying jobs, great paying jobs that are fantastic opportunities for people, and sometimes they're just not aware of them. It never crosses their radar, and we have to figure out a way to get those jobs more visibility, I think would be a way to put it.
Yes. So you touched on a very important point that was mentioned yesterday in the session. We had the CEO and the founder of the Mississippi Coding Academies on the panel. And one of the things that he mentioned about how candidates find their way to his resource, which is an excellent resource to help students begin a path in computer coding. He mentioned that teachers identify students that have the aptitude that he might be looking for. Well, and really teachers and counselors are the front line for helping a student recognize where they might be suited or what might be of interest to them. But the ACT Work Keys goes further than that. It's looking specifically at what your capabilities are as assessed by this important tool, and then matching you with career opportunities. We're talking a base of 20,000 different career opportunities. It's pegging you against, and it's spitting back, the top choices based on what you scored on this assessment. It's an ingenious assessment, and I've drank the Kool-Aid. So I mean, I think I don't know how else you would go about doing this. It's such a logical approach to me. And we spent 2.5 years building prep for it once we understood the skills that were being assessed, because frankly, there is no prep for this assessment in the country. There's nothing like what we built for it. And we just sold nearly 100 licenses to a job force training center in Virginia this morning. They just found us.
Oh, wow.
So We've never seen this. We didn't know that there was prep for this test, and we found you online, and we want a significant number of licenses because we're dealing with underemployed and unemployed individuals in this community, and we're trying to get them to do better on this assessment. And when I say underemployed in this job market, Dave, there's so many folks that really have talents beyond their current career. And now's an excellent opportunity to begin to think, is this really what I need to be doing with the rest of my life? Because there's many opportunities above where you might be working.
Well, and the atmosphere has changed. The situation has changed. Whereas before, just a couple of years ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago, you took what you could get was basically the employment situation in some cases. Whereas now, with everything switching around, and a lot of people have realized during the past couple of years that they were underemployed, and they have traded in their job for a different job, but there are still other people that are in that same situation and may not even realize it. And that comes back to what you're talking about with the work keys, because if you go and you take that, you will get a list of things that it shows that you are qualified to do, that you can do. And I guarantee you there will be some things on that list that you're going to look at and go, well, this thing is wrong. I'm not qualified to do that. Yes, you are. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. Can you hang on through the break?
Sure. Yeah.
Shay Walker with Jumpstart Test Prep. There's a world of opportunity out there right now. That's a cliche that's been used for decades, but it's never been more true than it is right now. And we'll continue talking to him about that when we come back in the Element Wealth Studios on Middays on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here on Middays. Dave Hughes here, and joining us on the air, Shay Walker, the CEO and head honcho the co-founder at Jumpstart Test Prep. And we were talking right before the break, and you made the point that teachers and counselors at schools have a big role that they play in directing kids towards where their talents and abilities would serve them best in employment. But it's different with the Work Keys assessment because teachers and counselors can only direct you toward jobs they know about and careers that they're aware of, and they're human. They're not going to be able to know all, 20,000 of them that it checks you against.
And so you may have heard about Accelerate Mississippi. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. That's a group, a task force being tasked with improving the labor market in our state. And one of the things that they're actually doing that I became aware of is they're cataloging the jobs that are available in the state and to what numbers, what quantity of those jobs exist, and they're making an inventory of that. So I expect when they're complete with that, high schools will know about it, and they'll know, these are the most desired tracks, and that changes because of geography. So the kind of jobs that are being sought after in the northeast part of the state are not the same as the coast. So they're really taking a strategic look at this and categorizing the jobs that are needed so that schools in those areas can begin to point students down those paths, because we want our students to stay in our state. We've got too many jobs and not enough people, and we don't need our students leaving to go to other opportunities. And that's one way to address that.
Well, and that's the other thing, because if you've got a career path, say in Tupelo, that there's a great need in that area for people to do those jobs, there's a whole bunch of kids on the coast aren't even aware of it. They could stay in the state, they could have a fantastic career, but they have to know that that's available, because a lot of times you hear the comment when somebody is introduced to a new career path, and I've heard people say this, wait a minute, that's a job? They don't even realize it exists.
Right. And that's what you really want to do at this stage. You want to get a good fit for the right students so that they don't embark on a path that's wrong. And I was just talking with a friend of mine last night that a fellow he knew that got involved in a career path early on and should have known better. It was a mismatch, and the energy and time that was wasted on that path, as well as the opportunity that it took away from someone else who could have relished that role or done well in. It makes sense to try to get an early fit for a student that's going to be a successful track, and be one that the student's going to enjoy, or the worker's going to enjoy, and one that is going to be able to satisfy the employer in that role. So, it's not a perfect science, but the closer you can get those two things, the waste is eliminated, because you're not training somebody that's not going to stick around.
Well, exactly.
I think back to what we do, our prep for that job skill assessment can hone your skills before you take it. So we want you to perform your best on something as important as that test, as well as the ACT. Mississippi is one of 18 states that mandate the ACT. They provide one attempt for every junior in our state, and they all take it at school on March 1st. This past year. So, for many of those students, that's the only attempt they'll ever have at the ACT. It eliminates all the cost barriers, the travel barriers, the calculator issue. Any barrier is removed, and it's a gift. It's an enormous opportunity for students in this state that don't have the resources to pursue such an important test. But that's only part of it. You got the chance to take the ACT, but then there's the getting ready for it part that we hear about, the haves and the have-nots, and the people that pay $100 an hour tutors to tutor their child into a better score. Well, that's why this company was founded. Dot's one of those people. She's one of those high dollar tutors that decided to take what she knows about prep and make it available to every classroom, make it available to every student, every parent at a reasonable price, so that every student has the opportunity to prepare for such an important test, because this thing is testing everything you've learned in your academic career. And what I've learned is so much of the test it was learned long ago from your 11th grade year. So how can you possibly do your best on it without a review? Let's walk through this one more time and practice it before you go into battle. And it's making an enormous difference in scores. I'm looking at data right now from a school in Louisiana that sent their data in this morning, and we look at prior best ACT scores versus post scores after they've done our program. And some of these kids had 7 prior attempts at this school.
Wow.
I'm looking right now at a 6-point composite improvement in their junior class. I'm looking at a 5-point composite improvement in their senior class. That's game changer. For this one student with a 5-point improvement, that was a 14 to a 19. So that's not getting admitted to community college to getting at Colin. That'll get you a 19, will get you a 25% scholarship. So it's a game changer. It just opened the door for opportunity to some students that weren't even thinking about it.
Well, and you ask any teacher, my mom was a teacher for 30 years, I know this. You ask any teacher, when school starts in the fall, the first month is spent reminding them of what they just learned a few months earlier, because over the summer, it just flies away. So when you're dealing with something like this that is based on your cumulative education that you've had over many, many years, you're going to have a refresher. That's just the way the brain works.
That's exactly what we built. And for anybody out there that wants to look at this, the next ACT test date is June the 11th. And so parents have until May the 6th to get registered for that date. And then, you can find us online at jumpstarttestprep.com. If you've taken it before and you only need help in math or English, you can buy just that prep, just that subject area prep, or you can buy all 4 subject areas: math, English, reading, science. If your kid goes to a school that doesn't provide prep, you can ask your junior, or this year would be a sophomore, that next year would be a junior, that'll take it in the spring of 2023. Ask your school, do you guys provide any prep? Have y'all looked at Jumpstart Test Prep? Because we'd like to see all of our juniors get an opportunity to prepare for this important state administered test.
And the work keys test doesn't have set dates. You go take it when you want to go take it, right?
Right now, your statement is true. You take the work keys generally at a community college, would administer the work keys. If an employer is wanting you to go get certified, get your National Career Readiness Certificate, that's what you're getting. They would send you to a community college. Community college would administer the test. But the state of Mississippi is now going to provide funding for ACT work keys assessment at the high school level next year. And many schools right now are already doing that on their own. They're testing their seniors. So that's coming. And next year, your senior next year will be taking the ACT work keys assessment at school, and we've got prep to help them do their best. So if the school doesn't provide it, a parent could get it online.
And even if you're not in high school, if you would like to take the work keys assessment, you can do it, as Shay said, at most community colleges around the state. I know they give it at the Workforce Training Center at Southwest Community College in Summit. I say that only because you plug Colin. So we got to keep things even.
That's correct. And I talked with both schools yesterday at the convention. Southwest and Colin were present, and both have departments that do nothing but that, administer work keys and prepare folks for that assessment.
It's that important. So give them the website one more time, Shay.
It's jumpstarttestprep.com, and you can find out everything about us online. You can email us at info@jumpstarttestprep.com, or you'll find our phone number on there if you have questions. But You can look on social media. There's no shortage of parents, teachers, principals that rave about this program. They